In the heart of this village, where the sun rests early and the night market thrives, there was one tale that called out louder than all others, Mama Ijeoma's Akara. Golden, crisp, and irresistible, with Mama Ijeoma's Akara still standing out, with golden, crispy Akara frying in bubbling oil. The aroma fills the air, creating an inviting and almost hypnotic atmosphere. A group of villagers, including men, women, and children of different ages, eagerly crowd around the stall, waving their arms excitedly as they buy the hot Akara. Mama Ijeoma, with a warm but knowing smile, especially scoops freshly fried Akara from the sizzling oil, draining it briefly before handing it to customers, wrapped in banana leaves or small brown paper. As the villagers take their first bite, their eyes always widen and their expressions shift. First to surprise, then to blissful delight. Their faces relax, some even closing their eyes as they savor the taste. When children take a bite, they giggles, pulling out their mother's sleeve, excitedly asking for more. One elderly man chews slowly, nodding in satisfaction, murmuring about how no one makes Akara like Mama Ijeoma. Some villagers even stare into the distance after eating, their eyes, their smiles lingering a little too long, their expressions dazed for just a second before they will snap back to normal. One of the villagers mourned with pleasure one day. Mama Ijeoma, what do you put in this Akara? It's like the gods themselves are cooking through your hands. Mama Ijeoma smiled, her voice smooth like honey but with an unsettling undertone. The secret, my dear, is love and patience. As she scooped a batch of mist-blended beans into the oil one day, her eyes turned briefly towards the crowd, holding a gaze just a second too long. A thin, scruffy stray dog emerges from the shadows, sniffing the ground, its ears flick at the sounds of the market, and its ribs are faintly visible. It's hungry. The dog's nose twitches as it catches the scent of fried Akara. It sniffs the air, its tail wagging slightly in excitement. Then a small golden pieces of Akara falls from the stall, bouncing onto the dusty ground. The oil glistens under the lantern light. The dog hesitates, ears twitching, then lunges forward and snatches the Akara, chewing hungrily. As the dog swallows the Akara, something shifts. The dog's tail stops wagging. It lowers its head, ears flattening. Its breathing quickens. The dog lets out a low, struggled yip as its body starts to tremble uncontrollably. Its legs stiffen, its jaws clench, and its paws scrape against the dirt as it struggles to stand. The dog collapses, convulsing violently. Its body jerks, then a final shudder. It goes completely still. The dog lies lifeless in the dirt. Its eyes open, glassy and vacant. A breeze blows, stirring the dust around it still. Nnenna, a wandering trader, witnessed this. She gasped, dropping her basket. Horrified, Nnenna whispers, "That dog, it died." Mama Ijeoma slowly turns, her eyes meet Nnenna's. For a brief moment, something cold and knowing gleams in Mama Ijeoma's gaze. Mama Ijeoma spoke softly, but with a deadly edge. You shouldn't concern yourself with things that don't concern you. In silence, Nnenna shoulders, gripping her wrapper tightly and fearfully walked away. That night, Nnenna couldn't shake the feelings that something is wrong. She tossed in bed, her eyes wide open, restless, unable to sleep. She sighs and then sits up, looks towards the window. The faint glow from Mama Ijeoma's hut casts long shadow on the ground. Something is not right, she said to herself. Then she wraps a shawl around herself and quietly slips outside to watch Mama Ijeoma. Nnenna hides behind a tree, peeking at Mama Ijeoma's hut. The hut doors creak open. A tall, shadowy figure steps out. Mama Ijeoma, wrapped in a dark cloth, she holds a bundle tightly in her arms. The bundle shifts. Something inside moves. A soft muffled whispers escapes the cloth. Nnenna's eyes widened. Catching her breath, she whispers fearfully, "A child?" Her hand grips the rough bark of the tree as she watches in horror. Mama Ijeoma walks silently through the village, her steps careful and measured. She moves past the last hut and into the dense forest. Nnenna hesitated at first, but then follows carefully to stay hidden. Shadows of leaves dance on the ground as the moonlight filters through the trees. The forest grows darker as they move deeper. Nnenna steps on a dry twig and snaps. Mama Ijeoma pauses, hearing the sound. Her head turns slightly to see if someone was around. Nnenna freezes, pressing herself against a tree in order not to be caught. After a tense moment, Mama Ijeoma continues. As the sound of rushing water grows, Mama Ijeoma crosses a narrow wooden bridge over the forbidden river, a place feared by the villagers. The wind howls slightly, making the trees groan. She disappears into the thick darkness beyond the trees. Nnenna stops at the edge of the river, scared of moving forward. She stares in the black void ahead. Nnenna, frightened, standing at the river bank, staring into the unknown. She decided to go back home, but she won't rest until she unravels the mystery. The next morning, a rooster crows, but the usual morning liveliness is missing. Villagers gathered under a large tree. The village is restless. The air feels thick with fear. An elder said, "A boy is missing." Tunde, the blacksmith's son, and Tunde's mother wails. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman clutches her chest, and a man pulls his child closer. A young girl whispers to her friend, her eyes wide with fear. The blacksmith's face is contorted with silent rage and grief. A child tugs on his mother's wrapper, sensing the fear but not understanding. While the elder spoke, Nnenna, standing at the edge of the crowd, her breath catches. Her hands trembled as she grips her chest. She recalls Mama Ijeoma vanishing into the forest. The bundle ringala in her arms, the soft whimper. Nnenna said softly to herself, "I know what happened. I saw." Then her vision blurs slightly. The voices around her became distant. For a brief second, she hears the faint echo of a child's cry. Then she snaps back to present, her heart pounding. Whispers spread through the villagers. Some exchange worried glances. A man mutters, "This is not the first time." An old woman clutches her amulet, murmuring a prayer. The village elder's eyes scan the crowd, his voice firm. "We must find out what happened. No child disappears without a trace. Who saw anything?" Nnenna stiffens. She swallows hard. She wants to speak, but fear grips her throat. Mama Ijeoma stands nearby, watching the scene unfold, her expression unreadable. Determined to unravel the truth, Nnenna seeks the village elder. As she walks toward the elder's hut, her footsteps crunching against dry leaves. Wind rustled through the trees. Crow calls in the distance. She hesitated at the entrance, the door slightly ajar. She steps inside, the air thick with incense. Yes, the smoke coiling in strange patterns. The hut dimly lights by flickering oil lamps, casting airy shadows on the walls. The village elder seated in the center of the room, cross-legged on a woven mat, his eyes old and knowing. He did not look up as she enters. Nnenna swallows, hesitates, then speaks softly but firm. "I need to know about Mama Ijeoma." She explained what she saw. The elder finally looks up. His gaze is piercing, as if searching her soul. The firelight flickers. The wind outside howls. A long, heavy silence follows. With a darkly heavy voice with meaning, he said, "Mama Ijeoma is not what she seems." Nnenna, whispering, afraid to hear the answer, she asked, "What is she?" The elder leans in, his voice barely above a whisper, and he said, "Long ago, there was a woman who made a pact. She wished for prosperity, for food that no one could resist, for power that no one could question. But the gods do not give without taking." Nnenna now turns. What did they take? "The price is blood." The elder, Then a heavy silence falls. That night, Nnenna decided to follow Mama Ijeoma again. This time she is ready. Her heart pounds as she moves through the dark forest. Then she sees it. A shrine, bones fresh and old, litter the ground. At the center, a towering figure stands, its eyes hollow, its form shifting like smoke, and before it, bowls of Akara sit like an offering. She saw Mama Ijeoma kneeling, chanting in a tongue older than time, whispering in reverence, "Eat, my lord, eat and be pleased." Nnenna, shocked, claps her hands over her mouth to stop herself from screaming. But then she heard a horrifying sound, a collective murmur from the village. When she turns, her breath catches. The villagers who had eaten the Akara are walking, their eyes glazed, their movements eerily synchronized. They are coming to the shrine. But why will all of them be coming at the same time? As Nnenna talked to herself, she turned and saw the deity open its mouth with a gaping void. A deep, inhuman hunger, fear gripped Nnenna. Nnenna, confused and scared, she remembers the elders' words, "Destroy the offering and the cause will weaken." Now she knows she has only one chance. She stayed quiet and waited for an opportunity so she can do what needed to be done. And when it was time, though still in doubt, with a burst of courage, she dashes forward and overturns the bowls of Akara into the shrine's sacred fire. And the reaction is immediate. A blood-curdling shriek erupts. The deity recoils. Mama Ijeoma lets out a guttural wail, her body convulsing and twisting unnaturally. Mama Ijeoma screaming, "You don't know what you have done." Meanwhile, the villagers collapsed. Waking from their trance, the shrine shakes. The deity flickers, weakening. Nnenna, with one last act of defiance, throws the final Akara into the fire. The deity lets out a final piercing cry before vanishing into smoke. And Mama Ijeoma crumbles into ash. With silence, the village stands, stunned. Then the first light of dawn breaks over the horizon. 1 week later, the market is alive again. A new Akara stall stands where Mama Ijeoma's once was. A young woman unfamiliar with hauntingly dark eyes. She smiles sweetly at every customer. The Akara woman says to a customer, "Try one, dear. You'll love it." The customer paused, recalls what has happened before, then takes a bite. Their eyes darkened just slightly after eating the Akara. But then the circle begins again. What goes around comes around. And in the end, the hunger of the gods is never truly satisfied. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more haunting tales from the heart of Africa. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Will you dare eat from this tale? Stay tuned for my next story, if you dare.